So tomorrow is the big game, but I'm going to show you why I'm calling it the super scam and how it's almost identical to the overinflated housing market. Check this out.
Fans are clamoring to get their hands on tickets right now, and this year's are some of the most expensive.
Yes,
on SeatGeek, the average ticket price a whopping $12,082.
Come on.
The current listings on the site, the cheapest ticket was more than $9,000.
Yep.
But rooms are listed at more than $1,200 per night. Other hotels on the Strip have openings for $1,300 or $1,400 a night.
Now, if those prices aren't crazy enough, I'm about to show you even more eye-popping numbers. Let's get into it. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your #1 real estate resource here in beautiful Las Vegas. Hey guys, a couple of real quick things before we dive into the video. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn the cold hard facts about the U.S. economy, the U.S. real estate market, and specifically the Las Vegas real estate market, then definitely subscribe to the channel down below. Number 2, if you happen to like the content in today's video, make sure to press that thumbs up like button, guys. That would really help the channel out. And number 3, if you are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, whether it's next month or next year, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When the time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. Let's dive into the video. So the Super Bowl is here tomorrow in Las Vegas, and the anticipation has been huge, and so too have been the prices, whether it's ticket prices for the games, hotel accommodations, airfares, you name it. The problem with Las Vegas is it has become the ultimate cash grab city, and the Super Bowl being here is the ultimate cash grab. And in the upcoming segments, I'm going to show you why buying one of the many Las Vegas homes for sale here has become a super scam similar to the outrageous Super Bowl costs. All right, so the biggest reason why sporting events, home prices, car prices, groceries have all skyrocketed is because inflation, no matter what anyone says, is still out of control. And now the most mind-boggling report that just came out was from the Federal Reserve meeting from last week. I want you to watch this short 25-second video clip from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell talking about something very specific about interest rates, and then I'm going to come back on the other side and break it down for you.
I believe that our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle, and that if the economy evolves broadly as expected, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year. We know that reducing policy restraint too soon or too much could result in a reversal of the progress we've seen on inflation and ultimately require even tighter policy to get inflation back to 2%.
So what he's essentially saying is that we have hit peak interest rates and that they are likely going to start cutting interest rates possibly as early as this spring. So guess what happens if the Federal Reserve starts to reduce interest rates this spring? It brings inflation right back into the economy, the very thing that the Federal Reserve has been trying to reduce over the last 18 months or so. That means prices for everything goes even higher. This is insane policy making, but they'll continue to tell us and gaslight us by telling us that the economy is booming, and it's not, and I'm going to show you why coming up. So one of the reasons why the Fed might reduce interest rates is because we continue to hear that the economy is booming. So much so that a jobs report just came out that's made everyone feel even more positive about the economy. You can see the graphic right next to me that we added 353,000 jobs in the month of January, almost twice as many as they were expecting. But what a lot of people don't see in that jobs report, because it's not really publicly released, is that a lot of those jobs are part-time or average income earning jobs, which will never allow you to buy a home and certainly never allow you to buy Super Bowl tickets. Now let's drill down specifically to the real estate market. We all know home prices have exploded since the pandemic, and that has especially happened here in Las Vegas. And in the upcoming clips, I'm going to show you some home prices here in Las Vegas that are really going to shock you and why you should not be buying into the hype. All right, so this first graphic I wanted to show you was from an article that came out a little while back from Robb Report. Take a look at that headline there where it says the yearly salary needed to buy a home in the U.S. increased 50% since 2020. It's gone up 15% in the last year alone, according to a new Redfin report. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you guys this headline, because this really just tells the tale as to how unaffordable the overall housing market is and where it's been heading since the start of the pandemic. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I wanted to just scroll down here and show you this one small little paragraph right there that I highlighted in blue talking about the city of Miami. I'm going to read that sentence to you. It says, in Miami, where the average mortgage payment is now $3,580, the annual income needed to buy a typical home increased 33% to $143,000. Just think about this for a second, guys. I scrolled back up to the top of this article and I want to ask you a question. Has your yearly salary gone up 50% in just the last 3 or 4 years just so you can afford an average price home? I would venture to say that absolutely everybody would answer that question with a resounding no. And that's what's so frustrating about this real estate market and the overall economy. People have been priced out of the real estate market because their wages and their incomes have not even remotely kept up with inflation. And that's what's so frustrating, because so many people, millions of people, can't afford a home because their incomes just can't catch up to inflation. All right, so since I'm located here in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas happens to be the most popular and most moved to city in the country almost every single month, I wanted to show you, going back on this chart about 20 years ago, the last housing bubble compared to where we are now. And this is going to shock you. So let's take a look at this chart a little bit more in depth to show you where we are and where there's a potential housing bubble coming up. All right, so let's look on the left side of the chart here where it says housing bubble 1. You can see right here at the peak levels, this was right around the year 2006. And then we kind of fell off a cliff. It looks like it happened overnight, but it really didn't. It took several years, and it took us to about 2012 before we bottomed out. Then right around 2013 or so, we started to finally climb. And as we were climbing with the housing market again, it really started to spike. And then it really went into hyperdrive right around here in 2020 when we got to the pandemic. And when we went all the way up to these levels right here where we're currently at right now. All right, so here's the way I look at it. If we take a look at housing bubble number 1 again on the left side, it took several years for this to peak in 2006. And then it took several years for it to bottom in 2012. Then in 2013, we started going up again, and it's gone up for the last decade till we peaked to about 2022. Take a look at how high this level is right here compared to this one. We're much higher right now than we were in the last housing bubble situation, and you saw what happened over those few years. We bottomed out. Now again, even though we're in a different market right now, it's fair to assume, and my assumption is that when we get to a peak level like this, there's no way this can sustain itself being in this hyperinflationary scenario. And I believe over the next few years, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a slow grind down, in my opinion, on overall home prices. All right, so now let's drill down a little bit more specifically into the Las Vegas market. I want to show you a few specific homes that are for sale here on the popular real estate website, Zillow, just to show you a few things. Number one, Zillow's algorithm. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's very far off the mark. I want to show you the discrepancy that I find a lot of times with their algorithm. And number two, I want to show you some of the increases in prices and how outrageous they are and how overinflated some of them are, and also show you some price reductions that are happening as well right now. So let's take a look at this first luxury home example. All right, so let's look at this beautiful single-story luxury home for sale here in Las Vegas as the first example. You can see on the left side of the screen, this home is priced currently at $1.5 million. It's a 3-bedroom with 3-bath, 2,600 square foot modern single-story home. It was built in 2019. If you take a look right here down on the bottom right where I'm moving the arrow, it's got a pretty hefty HOA monthly fee of $415. But more importantly, I want to show you the price increase that's happened just in the last couple of years with this. Let's take a look at that right now. So let's look at the price history on this particular home in the bottom left where I highlighted this in blue. The date right down there in the bottom left, if you can't read that, it says 10/22/2019. This home sold for $850,000. If we take a look just above it, it was listed just about 4 years later, right around 11/2023. And you can see over here on the far right, it's currently listed at a whopping $1.5 million. So the sellers now are trying to sell this home for $1.5 when it was purchased for $850, which is about an 80% increase in just the last 4 years, which again is absolutely absurd appreciation. But more importantly, I want to show you the Zillow chart just above this to show you why things don't make sense with the Zillow algorithm. All right, so focus your attention right here in the middle of the screen, right where I'm moving that small arrow cursor. Just to the right of that, it says October of 2023. So if we go over here to the far left side, right there, that small number says $1.1 million. So this home has been hovering right around that $1 million mark in terms of the way Zillow has estimated its market value. But here's where things change on the algorithm just because the sellers decided to list it at $1.5 million. So again, focus your attention right here in the middle of the screen, just to the right of that small arrow cursor. That small box there says listed for $1.5 million on 12/11/2023. Now what happened was when the sellers listed this for $1.5 million, take a look up here in the upper left corner where it says estimated market value and it says Zestimate right there where I'm moving the arrow. It says estimate $1.436 million. So let's roll the clock back a little bit. In October and November of this year, Zillow had this home estimated right around $1 million to $1.1 million. The sellers decided to list the home for $1.5 million in December. And what did Zillow's algorithm do? It jumped it from 1.1 all the way up close to 1.5, which is the asking price of the sellers, which again, doesn't make sense. So again, you have to take the Zillow algorithm with a grain of salt. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're very far off the mark, and this one is definitely off the mark. All right, so let's take a look at this second example of a home for sale here in the Las Vegas area. Now we're definitely coming down in price. Just so you guys know, the average median home price right now in Las Vegas is about $450,000. So you can see over here on the left side of the screen, this home is currently listed at $700,000, but just above it, in that small red text, it says price cut $50,000 that they had recently. This is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,700 square foot home. But again, I want to show you what's going on with the price history down below. So let's take a look at that right now. So let's look at the price history here down below in the bottom left again, where I highlighted this in blue. The date on the bottom left says 10/11/2023. So that's about 4 months ago. This home was listed for sale for about $825,000. They've not been able to find a buyer, and then they've done a couple of price changes, and this is pretty dramatic. So I want you guys to take a look at this. As we scroll up here, they dropped the price first to $798,000, $775,000, $750,000, and then that big price drop that they recently had down to $700,000. Now, the reason why I'm showing this to you guys is because just think about this. The sellers tried listing this home just 4 months ago at $825,000, which is, in my opinion, massively overpriced. That's why they've not been able to find a buyer, and they've done a series of price reductions to the point now where in just 4 months, if you bought this home 4 months ago, you would have been paying around $825,000 for what the sellers wanted. And look what happened. Just by being patient and sitting tight, in the last 4 months, the sellers have dropped this price $125,000 from $825,000 down to $700,000. So that's what I'm talking about, guys. There's a lot of greed out there between homeowners, home builders, and especially investors. They're trying to get as much money as possible. They're overpricing a lot of these homes. And then in this perfect example here, they are reducing the price tremendously because they know they were overpriced to begin with. So again, patience is a wise option right now, especially on homes like this that are overpriced to begin with. All right, so let's look at this third and final example of a home for sale here in the Las Vegas area. Now we're down below the average price point here, which again, in Las Vegas is about $450,000. You can see on the left side of the screen, this home is currently listed at $430,000. They did a price cut 2 months ago of only about $14,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, nearly 1,500 square foot home. But again, I want you guys to take a look at the price history down below, because again, this to me looks like an investor special where they're trying to make a lot of money very quickly. So let's take a look at the price history right now. All right, so let's look at the price history on this particular home down here in the bottom left where I highlighted this in blue. The date down there in the bottom left says 9/6/2023. So that was about 5 months ago. This home sold for $315,000. Now, if we look just above it, the date says 11/11/2023. They listed this home for sale 2 months later for $444,000. That's a $130,000 price increase that they're trying to make, obviously, as a flip. So an investor, in my opinion, probably bought this home for $315,000, probably a little bit below market value. They put some renovation costs into it, and now they're trying to make a 6-figure flip profit on this. They have not been able to find a buyer. They've been sitting at about $444,000, then they just dropped it down to $430,000, and they've left it there. This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is why I think everything is such a scam in the real estate market, because the greed is absolutely out of this world when it comes to investors, especially home builders and homeowners. They're obviously trying to make as much money as possible, which is natural. But in this situation, this is a perfect example as to why they can't find a buyer, because they bought it for $315,000 and immediately think they can make over $100,000 profit on it in just 2 months' time. That's why you guys need to sit tight. You need to pay attention to the market and not just bid on what these people are offering for home sale prices, because again, a lot of them are massively overpriced. So here's the thing, guys. The big Super Bowl is here tomorrow in Las Vegas, and whether or not it's paying for these massively overinflated ticket prices or even trying to afford a home here in the Las Vegas area, prices across the board are still completely absurd. And I'm cautioning you guys to not waste your money, especially on things like Super Bowl tickets and even buying a home right now. So before we end today's video, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite comment from last week's video. And I actually had this image that I'm about to put up here on screen texted to me from one of my YouTube subscribers. This was absolutely mind-blowing. Take a look at this image right here. So you can see this is an image of a Big Mac, and if you take a look down on the bottom right where I highlighted that with the red arrow, a Big Mac meal costs now nearly $18. Now, I haven't been to a fast food restaurant in quite some time, but I remember when a Big Mac used to cost about $5. To see that this now costs $18 is absolutely mind-blowing and proves that inflation is still completely out of control. I want to hear from you guys. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you've seen things similar to this, anything that's been frustrating you in terms of inflationary costs that have gone up in your life. And my favorite comment from this week's video, I'm going to give a direct on-screen shout out to in next week's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I also hope you appreciate my transparency. You know that I'm always going to keep it 100% real on this channel regarding the U.S. economy, the U.S. real estate market, and specifically the Las Vegas real estate market. So here's the thing, guys. We all know inflation is completely still out of control, as evidenced by these crazy high Super Bowl ticket prices that I showed earlier in the video. Don't waste your money on a frivolous sporting event the way a lot of people are going to be doing this weekend here in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. And if you can hold off on buying a high ticket item right now, like a home, I would definitely advise doing that, because I think home prices are going to recede and possibly correct the later we get into 2024. I know everybody's circumstances are different. Some people have the ability to be patient and wait things out. Some people have to buy a home right now. If you are thinking about buying a home here in the Las Vegas area, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of the city. When that time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. I'll see you guys in the next video.